Things heat up fast today on Sailor Moon as a new, more relentless henchman of the Negaverse appears. And a fearsome girl warrior. Is she friend or foe? Is she after the rainbow crystals too? We'll be right back, so stick around!
Moon Podcast Escalation! Hi there, my name is Jordan D. White.
My name is Chris Sims, and this is Sailor Business, the podcast where we watch every single episode of the classic 1992 Sailor Moon anime and break it down to talk about just why it is that we love this show so much. And I am excited. We have an exciting episode. It is a big change for the cast. We're going to meet probably my favorite scout, to be honest.
You lying liar.
Look, I have talked before. Look, I like them all. I liked Amy the most in the episodes where it's just Amy and Usagi and Rei. But like when Sailor Jupiter shows up, it's pretty much like she is an instant fave for reasons that will become obvious. In order to help us talk about that, we have a very special guest today. Hopefully Jordan will not call her a liar. Like he just did to me.
Hopefully she won't earn it.
Laura Hudson is here. Laura, hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Now, Laura, you are a former employer of mine.
I am.
So we have had many conversations about Sailor Moon. But please, can you tell us your history with Sailor Moon?
Yeah. Well, I got into Sailor Moon when a lot of people did. In the 90s when it was airing on television. And I remember I used to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to watch this show. And, I'd kind of gotten into other anime. I'd seen Akira, I'd seen Ghost in the Shell and that sort of thing. But I'm just going to say really, really, really into Sailor Moon. I lived in Rhode Island and I used to make my mom drive me up to Boston because that was the closest place that you could get anime stuff because anime wasn't a thing yet. And we would go to Boston to Harvard Square and I would buy wall scrolls and all kinds of stuff. At one point, because I had, kind of crappy high school French, there were French manga and I would translate the French into English and post them online because there weren't manga translations yet. And I was, before sort of R and S and the rest of it came out, I was, sending and copying fan subs through the internet. I was very involved. Let's say that. And I liked Sailor Moon a lot. And I watched all of it. And, but some of these episodes, I hadn't seen since I think I watched them the first time. So it was kind of really fun to go back and watch them again.
Yeah, I had a Sailor Moon wall scroll for a very long time. I don't want to say what ages until from when to when, but it is probably later than you think and much later than you think.
I mean, I technically still have one up at my office.
Do you really?
Yeah. Somebody gave it to me
that when I went up there.
Well, it's not super prominently displayed. Although I think now it's a little bit more. Not because I'm embarrassed, but because other people were going don't do that, and I was like, fine. So I put it up a little. But no, I think actually it's more prominent than it was when you were up there. It's of Usagi and Mamoru and Chibi as a little family. It's just the one I had. Somebody gave it to me. I was like, all right, I'll put it up.
So, Laura, did you have a favorite scout? I think you told us who your favorite scout was before we started recording, and we all got a little nervous.
I did. Well, Rei was my favorite.
Why is she your favorite?
I mean,
justify yourself.
Well, I think I think she's very together. She's very passionate and kind of strong-willed, which is, something that I identify with. As much as I think we all enjoy Usagi as a flawed character, and we can talk about this sort of comes up this episode. Mm-hmm. There are moments when, I, like Rei, would get frustrated with her. I mean, I'm someone who sits there and yells at characters during fight scenes when they're fighting inefficiently. This is true across the board in media, where I get really frustrated when people don't. Can I swear on this podcast, by the way? Is that okay? I get really frustrated when people don't get shit done. And Ray definitely gets shit done. And I like the fact that she seems kind of more mature than the rest of them. She is certainly that sort of, spiritual aspect to it. And I like the dynamic that she has with Usagi, which, we see Makoto comment on in this episode, where they have that kind of sort of angry, sisterly love, hate kind of thing going on. But yeah, I liked her for a lot of reasons.
So that is one of my favorite things in this episode, where Makoto does just kind of cut through the bullshit and tell them, like, hey, you are exactly alike.
I'm imagining right now that when you worked for Laura, that was Laura being Sailor Mars and you being Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a pretty accurate representation.
I mean, it's all kind of making sense as you say that. Where I'm like, I love Usagi, but she frustrates me, but I love her.
I'm gonna go make Usagi see Marmaduke and write about it.
Oh, Marmaduke. But I do like that as we sort of see more of the scouts coming in, that we get to. I mean, this particular era, I enjoy a lot, because as each scout sort of joins the team, you can see sort of what they add and how they start to interact with each other in different configurations. And I really kind of enjoy that. I think that's really fun to see.
Well, that's kind of the thing that I like about Makoto so much that we see in this episode, which is that all the other scouts and look, to be real here, my favorite Sailor Scout is whoever is in front of me at the moment that I'm watching.
Clearly, you.
But like, I really love this first episode for Jupiter, and a lot of it is because when we see Amy and especially Ray. And well, I guess probably especially Amy too. They're very guarded. Amy's very shy. Amy doesn't have any friends. Ray is obviously, growing up alone, living in a temple on top of a hill with her pervert grandpa. They're both very, very guarded. They don't let they're very kind of suspicious of Usagi, who is just kind of wide open, wanting friendship, was something that Umino comments on in this episode. But Makoto is like, from moment one, she is like all out on the table. She's very extroverted. She's very big and present, I guess is the way to put it. In a way that I think is kind of the opposite of Amy. Yeah. Amy's very shy and doesn't say anything to anyone and wears her dirty sweatshirt in Crystal. Whereas Jupiter, you can't miss her, so she kind of rolls with that. She's supposed to be 5'6" is her official height.
No,
is she really?
Yeah, her official height is listed at 5'6".
That's ridiculous.
Remember, these girls are supposed to be 14, but she comes across as being 6'20".
Well, but also, Japanese people tend to be a little bit shorter.
You're right. It says 5'6". That's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, there's a scene in Crystal and in the manga, and she towers over a teacher, which I kind of love that. I love that there's this, Sailor Jupiter is so big and hard to miss, but not like a jerk about it.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so this made me go, how tall could Sailor Moon be? 4'11".
I mean, that makes sense.
I want to be I'm 5'2", and when I lived in Japan, it was the first time in my life I felt like I was average height, normal to maybe slightly a little bit taller than a lot of other women. Okay. So I do think there's a relative quality where I think because I remember students of mine who were male students who were 5'9" in Japan, and people were he's tall. I mean, I'm not to say that nobody in Japan is 6 foot tall, but I think there's more of a relative quality there, so that is a little more impressive than it sounds to us for a woman to be 5'6".
There's a line in Dave Barry's book where he goes to Japan and writes about going to Japan, where he talks about how he just wanted to carry around a basketball while walking through Japan, and find a pickup game and insist that his name was Dr. Badass. Oh, God. No, that's something that we didn't mention, Laura. You have been to Japan. You lived in Japan for a short time, right?
I lived there for a little over a year.
Oh, well, that's a long time. That's much longer than I thought.
Yeah, it's funny because, not to get too much into my whole life story, but, I've been really, really into anime when I was younger, and I'd always had this kind of fascination, and I'd learned a little bit of Japanese through, studying it myself so I could understand anime better. And, then when I got out of college, I was contemplating my future, and I decided that I really wanted to go to Japan, and I did. And I taught English there to students that kind of ranged from junior high school, like all the way up to elderly students. And it was really incredible. You know, you really get to, it was funny because once I got there, it wasn't about anime at all, you know, like, because it's a whole culture. It's not about anime.
Right.
You know, and it became actually a very, very small part of my life compared to the rest of the experience. But it definitely gave me, you know, a lot more perspective on the culture.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Before we move into the episode, I should say I dropped the ball, everybody. I'm going to act sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I know that we promised you Motoki's Game Corner in this episode of Sailor Business. I have not had a chance to play the Super NES RPG yet.
I also wasn't able to get the CD-ROM game to work on my computer yet either. I don't know if it's possible.
Too super old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The game is old. The computer is brand new.
Yeah, that is the problem. Now, someone told you that you could set up a virtual machine.
I have no idea how to do that.
Now, I have heard of doing this. I have never done it. I do not know what is involved. But as far as I know, it is not too terribly difficult. So it might be something that you can do. It might be something that you don't do at all.
Okay, I'll look into it. We'll see what happens.
Surely you can find an old computer running Windows 98 somewhere.
Oh, of course. They just sit around. I think this might actually be on Windows 95. This game.
I think you can still run it on Windows 95 or Windows 98. I feel like everything up to XP use the same Windows. This is very interesting. It's a very interesting topic for the show. Folks, if you know
Amy would be interested.
If you know when the architecture of Windows shifted to let us know. Let us know at Sailor Business. But for now, what do you say we go ahead and watch this episode?
Sure, please.
All right. Well, we are watching. If anyone would like to watch along, this is number 25. Correct? Mm-hmm. It is called Jupiter, the Powerful Girl in Love. I assume that is not the title of the American version.
Jupiter Comes Thundering In.
That is a good title. That is a good title.
Yeah, that's
and I should say, we obviously watched the new dub, the new subs that are on Hulu. I watched the new dub. I did pick up Volume 2 on Blu-ray. I will say, I meant to say this earlier, I am a little disappointed in the Blu-rays.
Wow.
They do not look that great.
Huh.
They basically just look exactly like the DVDs.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, but the Blu-ray set has more extras, which is a real it's really annoying because the Blu-rays don't actually look that good.
I watched on Hulu as always, and I will say the Hulu episode, the audio was really terrible. Something was wrong with the music. Whenever music would play, it was like the reverb was like doubled. And I watched 2 episodes in a row, and the next episode was fine. But for some reason, this episode sounded terrible on Hulu. So I don't know if it's me or Hulu.
Nothing but
I also watched it on Hulu, and I didn't really have any significant problems. But who knows?
Now, also, this is an episode that is drawn from the manga, so I do have my copy of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon Volume 1 that's sitting right here. And I also watched the Crystal episode, which is actually really good. It's one of the better Crystal episodes that I've seen. So we will talk about those as we go on. For now, if you're just joining us, if you're just joining us, our heroine is Usagi Tsukino. She's 14 years old. She's 4'11".
Yes.
She's a Cancer, blood type O, birthstone Pearl. She is also secretly Sailor Moon, the pretty soldier who fights for love and justice. And she is not the only one. She also has 2 allies, not counting the cat, who is also a people. She has Rei Hino, the hot-headed psychic, and Amy Mizuno, the kind-hearted girl genius. They are Sailor Mars and Mercury, respectively. But since there is a Sailor Moon, a Sailor Mercury, and a Sailor Mars, you might expect that there are probably other Sailor Scouts out there named after other planets. And that is what we will get to today. We open in the Dark Kingdom, where everybody is pretty fine with the death of Nephrite.
Yeah, nobody really cares.
Oh man.
Yeah, it is not really. It'll be covered a lot next week, but in this episode, it's not even mentioned. Instead, we see Beryl, and this is one of the first big indications that Beryl is not actually the one in charge.
Well, yeah, because we see her supplicating herself before someone. That was a shocker for me. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, I thought she was the top of the heap.
Okay, does anybody actually enjoy the scenes in the Dark Kingdom?
Oh, I'm
always just like, oh God, and just waiting for them to go back to the Sailor Scouts.
No, I mean, I can completely understand that, but I love them in a weird way where that we have talked about on the show before, where I'm trying to figure out how the Dark Kingdom's business plan works.
Yeah, we've got.
I want to know the infrastructure of the Dark Kingdom.
On this podcast,
okay, that's interesting.
Really into the office politics of the Dark Kingdom, and like who reports to who and who files with what. And
yeah, because we always see like this is the first time we've seen Queen Beryl not in her throne.
Yeah.
By the way, in 25 episodes, we see her actually like she has gotten up and walked over to, spoiler warning, to Queen Mythology. And like normally we just see her in a room just with monsters, like just hanging out. And I like if they have that many monsters, why don't they send that many monsters out?
One at a time. Like, you know the rules. One at a time in all television shows.
Yeah, but it's not like, like if you watch Power Rangers, like they're making those monsters every week. Like they have to actually go, all right, time to build a new monster to go fight the Power Rangers. With Queen Beryl, like there's 100 of them just sitting there, like hanging out.
Well, not in this episode. In this episode, she has to ask advice of her master because in this represents a shift of the focus of their goals. Up till now, they've been trying to get energy. And in this opening scene, Queen Beryl goes, "Oh, here's the energy. We got enough energy. Here it is. Have it." And her
Thank God.
Yeah, done. Wake on
logically.
up.
Logically, that is all Molly energy.
Yeah, sure.
That is all Molly energy.
Well, again, Molly topped it off. There's plenty of energy from Americans and Australians and people from Europe that didn't have defenders to stop them, right? So she gives the energy to her master and goes, "Wake up!" And the word comes out, "No, I'm awake right now, but sometimes I'm still very tired. Can you get me a silver crystal of some sort?"
Now, Jordan, you bring up an interesting point because we know that the four kings of heaven were assigned to different parts of the world. Yeah. Like the Jedi was the Far East commander. He was the one in charge of Japan.
Well, I think we know that from the manga, right?
It is mentioned in the manga, but I'm pretty sure they say it in the anime at some point.
The reason I don't think that's the case in the anime, I think in the anime they're given different tasks. Because you remember we had the whole thing of Nephlite was doing energy, although Jedi was doing energy as well before, and Zoisite was looking for the crystal and just failing miserably off screen.
But like, it makes me wonder, like, when Nephrite had to come to Japan, like, do all the monster crimes in Europe stop, like, unexpectedly?
That's a good question.
Like, everyone's like, man, it was a weird 6 months there, guys. We had people going into comas by the dozens and just monsters everywhere. Because we know that Sailor V was in England.
Or maybe that's the thing. We don't. The reason we have a million plans in Japan is because they keep losing. Maybe the first plan worked in Europe and they were just like, "Oh, good." Like they did the jewelry scam and they went, "Cool. There's a bunch of people wearing jewelry. They're giving us energy. Done."
So yeah, Queen Mythology wants the, quote, legendary silver crystal. Always in quotes, everybody. Always in quotes. And that is what Zoisite is in charge of at this point. And Queen Beryl is stoked about it. She is happy. Like, we see her smiling, and it's kind of adorable because she has those little kitty cat fangs.
Yeah. It's even weirder in the dub. Now, let me just mention the original dub. This is another one of these episodes from the original dub where they just didn't follow the script. They just kind of went, it's like basically the same, but let's just have them say whatever. And unfortunately, it didn't even result in anything super fun and interesting. It's not that well written of an episode in the American version. But yeah, this opening scene with Queen Beryl, it's super funny, especially because she keeps having that happy open-mouthed smile, and they feel the need, if your mouth is open, let's put some sound in there. And so she's doing a lot of like, ah. It's really weird.
So yeah, that is the announcement that the show is changing.
Yes.
No, that is the announcement. Hey, we're not doing energy anymore. But don't worry, it's basically going to be the exact same thing. So from there, oh boy, here we go. This episode's about to get good.
Yeah.
We get Usagi. She is late for school. No toast, but Luna has her lunch in her mouth.
Luna carrying the lunch bag is the best.
Luna's carrying the lunch bag. Usagi charges around a corner and runs face first into some hoodlums.
Now,
what I liked about these guys too is that they, based on the art style, they seem to be from a completely different anime.
Yeah.
It's like they showed up from Dragon Ball Z or something.
And I don't know if you guys have been watching Better Call Saul, but immediately we went, they're pulling a Slip and Jimmy on her. I don't have a clue why. they're shaking her down.
Was was this like a common, con in Japan at the time where you like run into people and pretend to break your leg? Like, and why would you do it to a 14-year-old girl?
Exactly. She's going to give you $2, like maximum.
For lunch.
Right. I mean, look, I don't want to get dark here. I don't think they're after money.
Whoa.
Oh, man.
What? Are you serious? You broke our friend's leg by running into him. Now give in to our deep sexual desires? That's ridiculous.
I think that is exactly what is going on.
All right.
Wow.
Because I think that is justifies what happens next, which is awesome.
Yes.
And this has to be, this has to be at least a slightly common con because our new friend knows exactly what is going on from moment one. So while these pompadoured thugs are hassling Usagi, all of a sudden someone steps into frame and just tells them to stop it. And they turn around and oh boy, we meet Makoto, 6'20", super buff.
Wearing her awesome rose earrings, which I love.
Wearing her rose earrings, which Usagi loves too.
Yeah, they get special attention this episode. Every episode.
And she has her arms crossed. She tells them to stop trying to con a girl because they're low. And this guy says, we don't let people talk to us like that, even if it's a girl, and goes to touch her. And she judo throws his ass to the ground, dodges a punch, kicks a dude in the gut, Muay Thai style. And then the third one is just too scared to do anything. So he runs away.
Okay. The idea that this would be both a common thing and a way to try to achieve sexual favors is really freaking me out. How is that supposed to work? You've heard.
Do they leave the guy with the broken leg on the ground and like take the girl, or do they help him like hobble away to also have sexual favors? Like,
this is terrible.
It's all really dark, but I'm just wondering about the logistics.
Look, you trade off.
Oh God!
You trade off.
Oh,
whoever gets the broken leg gets to be the aggressive guy next time.
But as we've seen, his leg is not actually broken.
Right, it's all a lie. Yeah.
No, I also think it's a con of opportunity. I mean, they're not just waiting around. They're not just standing three abreast around the corner waiting for somebody to run into them.
Well, also, as he was mentioning, in Better Call Saul, there's a con where, someone hits, these guys with a car,
right,
and then they appear to be hurt. Usagi is not a car.
No, she's just a tiny girl. She's a tiny girl.
She's 4'11" and 63 pounds. So
yeah, it does not make any sense.
I mean, you don't. Yeah. At that point, why bother having her run into you? Basically, is kind of the point. Just walk up to her and go, "We're three thugs, and we're gonna do whatever we want." Why bother with the justification of the assault?
I don't think it was premeditated. Is the thing. I think these are dudes who, based on their design as stereotypical Japanese hoodlums, with their pompadours and baggy pants and
like Street Fighter extras and stuff.
Rock and roll music.
Okay.
I think they're just walking around going, "Hey, what crimes are we going to do today, guys?"
Yeah, they're going to do crime.
Yeah, I love crime and drugs and alcohol. And then Usagi just, bops around the corner and runs into one, and and he goes, "Oh no, she broke my leg. Guys, back me up. It's our con that we're doing today."
Well, and then after Jupiter kicks their asses, Usagi's like, "Oh, sticky, so cool." But I love that, I love how impressed Luna is too, because she gets kind of the shimmery eye thing as well.
Yeah.
Where you're so impressed by someone that you look like you're gonna cry. But then later on, Luna seems to, she seems to have concerns where it's even the violence that Makoto used to defend Usagi seems to condemn her a little bit in Luna's eyes.
Well, I feel like Luna is probably going "Oh God, she's got Nephrite's evil crest on her."
Oh, that's a good point.
Because
true.
The only kind of feats of strength that we've really seen before, of this level, have been from people like the tennis girl. What's her name? Ayumi, I think.
Mm.
I mean,
Naru's sister that she never talks about.
Luna is regularly wrong about the Sailor Scouts, pretty much every time, right? Every time a Sailor Scout appears, she's like, I don't know about this. Oh, they're a good guy. Never mind.
Well, yeah, but also to be completely fair to Luna, there are 5 Sailor Scouts that she knows of, and there's 50 monsters. So
all right.
It is much more likely that they're going to run into monsters than to run into the other allies. Now, I should say, this scene is completely different in the manga, and therefore completely different in Crystal as well. In her original appearance, in the manga, Makoto saves Usagi from being hit by a car because Usagi is distracted and just wanders into traffic.
See, okay, before you go on, what I want that to mean is she shows off her strength just as well by like smashing a car with her hands. I'm assuming that's not the case.
I wish.
She like, poof. No.
Yeah, I wish we got a full-on Action Comics #1 out of this.
Sure.
Oh man.
But no,
I would love to see that fan art, by the way.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
That's everybody's
Makoto
new
is Superman.
Everybody's homework for this week is draw Action Comics #1 with Sailor Jupiter
lifting a car, smashing it into a rock for no reason, like Superman does.
And Usagi is clearly that dude down at the bottom corner who is losing his shit. My favorite character in comics history. But yeah, like, which I much prefer this version. Even though I am like generally opposed to scenes of creepy dudes threatening violence against young girls.
In this case, you'll make an exception.
Yeah, because it's not based on Usagi being so dumb that she walks into traffic.
That's true too, yeah.
Like I like Usagi being kind of distracted and a little ditzy. Like that's fine, but like to the point where she is in mortal peril about it, I think is a little. I think that's a little weird. It's a much more action packed in this. It's much more dynamic in this, and I just really appreciate that. It makes Usagi, or it makes Jupiter, Makoto, seem more like a guardian, because that's the Sailor Scouts' jobs, right? Like they protect Princess Serenity. It makes her seem more like a bodyguard.
Sure.
Than just kind of happening to be there and Usagi not getting hit by a car and dying and the Dark Kingdom winning because she walked into traffic.
It was very close.
I don't know, Laura, do you have an opinion on the different versions of the Makoto scene?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of a spacey person and almost run into things a lot, and I almost get hit by things a lot. So I don't know. I see that as a not unrealistic representation of the dangers that might be faced by a young woman who does not pay attention to things, who I've been.
Well, obviously, you need a 6-foot protector.
I mean, I would have loved, like, man, because I think that's a different question too. Like, then who's your favorite, Sailor Scout or whatever? Is like, who would you have wanted to be friends with in junior high? And I think that Sailor Jupiter would have been like super fun to be friends with. Like in terms of sheer fun, like I love Amy, I love Ray, but I feel like Sailor Jupiter would have been the most fun.
Well, yeah, Amy and Ray aren't fun.
Oh no, not at all.
Like,
no,
Amy is just not fun at all, and Ray is really introverted, so she doesn't want to hang out. I have temple duties.
Ray would do fun stuff, but only if she's the center of it.
Yeah, I mean, Ray's the one who pretends that going to the animation studio is for kids, but then she takes a bunch of autographs. Right. She takes a bunch of cards for autographs.
But you're right. Like Makoto, she. I mean, we don't even learn everything about her in this episode, but like it's like they just keep adding more fun stuff about her. She's like a great cook, and she has all this, and then she does this and that. Like she's a really interesting mix too of tough, kind of tomboyish things, and then also really girly things at the same time, which is really fun and interesting as a character.
Yeah, and I mean, I obviously, I didn't grow up feeling this way, but I know, like, I've seen a bunch of women that I know talk about how Sailor Jupiter was very important for them, because she is like, yeah, you can be big and tall and strong, you can be taller than everyone else and stronger than everyone else, but you can still be, quote unquote girly. You can still like to cook. You can still be, pretty and glamorous and fall in love. And I think she's a really important character because of that, because she is kind of more well-rounded. She's not just the sporty one.
Well, and I think you also sort of see, like, I mean, we'll get into this in a second with this, douchey guy who does not treat her right, where, I feel like as a viewer, I was, as a young girl, I'm like looking at, number one, like how awesome she is, and then this guy being like, oh, I'm like not into you because you're like big or whatever, non-traditionally feminine, even though that's not what he says. And, you kind of look at that and you're like, wow, like he sucks.
Yeah.
Like he's totally not worth it. And she's the awesome one. And looking at other characters and having those real realizations, I think can, help you have realizations about yourself, because it's easier to externalize that, to be like, look at that, like totally awesome lady. Like it's so dumb. Like that guy's super stupid for not appreciating how great she is. It's much easier to do that than to have that realization about yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Although we should also, of course, state that, of course, Sailor Jupiter is also tall and beautiful and thin, as everyone else is in the show.
Well, they're all variations on a certain, character model.
Yeah. I also really like her hair because she has more hair than Nephrite, not quite as much as Usagi.
And the two tendrils that she has coming down in front are really great too. I like that.
She's a really awesome design. So it's back to the Dark Kingdom where Beryl is going to further explain what we're doing for the next few weeks.
Yes.
It turns out that in addition to the regular monsters that we've seen, which have been pretty fearsome, I would say, there's also 7 great monsters, but they're so powerful that they have been sealed away for all this time. The enemies of the Dark Kingdom, Princess Serenity, Endymion, the scouts, all them, sealed the monsters away inside humans. And I'm not quite sure how this works.
Okay. It's sort of like, okay. The why of the human part is the part that makes the least sense. They definitely say they used the legendary silver crystal to trap these monsters, and the crystal split into 7 pieces, which sort of, makes sense, whatever. It split into the 7 rainbow crystals, exactly. And inside of each of the rainbow crystals is the monster contained. Why those then got thrown to Earth and showed up inside of people, they don't say. There's 2 episodes in a row where they tell this story, and it doesn't really get any clearer. They almost use the exact same words both episodes, and it just kind of goes, yeah, they got thrown to Earth, don't worry about it, now they're inside of people, so those people are going to be monsters. The end. Like, don't ask, don't tell. no questions.
Well, the thing is, though, I don't get if it's like a situation like Usagi and presumably Makoto and Amy and Rei and Minako, where Mr. and Mrs. Tsukino had a baby. Like Mrs. Tsukino got pregnant and had a baby, and that baby was Usagi Tsukino. But the soul of that baby is from the moon, is a moon person.
Right. Yeah. Usagi's mom is not Queen Serenity reborn.
Yeah. Like she has her. There's a weird part in that the Tia Brausch video, which again I genuinely and unironically love, where it gets to a point where she's explaining the episode where it's kind of revealed what happened on the moon.
Right.
And she keeps referring to Queen Serenity as my lunar mother.
Nice.
Consistently, which is such a weird phrase, but it's like the only way to describe it, because it's not like she, like, Queen Serenity is her mother, but also purple-haired Mrs. Tsukino is also her mother. Like they're both her biological mother.
Yeah, but like a purple-haired lady and a blue-haired dude can't have a blonde-haired girl. That just doesn't work.
It's called a Punnett square. Jordan, look it up. So
anyway,
yeah.
so does it have to do with that? It's probably connected to that. I don't remember when we get to that episode where we see. I mean, will we see? Does it say why they all go to Earth to be reborn? Maybe it's connected then. Maybe for some reason the crystals went at that time as well.
They say that the great monsters were sealed away. Presumably, they say the enemy, so presumably Queen Serenity.
Right.
But I just don't understand. Like the people that we're going to see, the Crane Game Troll and the priest in the next episode. Like, are they people with, like, if they get an MRI, does a crystal show up? Like,
good question.
If Nephrite goes into their room at night and strips them naked he did with Naru.
Yes, he sees it. He
would see the crystal.
That's the same. Well, they're using the same crystal that Nephrite made. Right. Queen Beryl has modified it to search, instead of searching for the silver crystal, to search for rainbow crystals.
Also, it seems like Queen Beryl knows that the silver crystal got split into 7 fragments long before she tells anyone. So why is everyone looking for a silver crystal when they should be looking for 7 rainbow crystals?
I don't know. You might say she doesn't find that out until I think in the opening scene, her master tells her, once you get the 7 rainbow crystals, that's when you'll get the.
Oh, you haven't been looking for the silver crystal, have you? Oh, Beryl, no, sweetheart. So yeah, so many crystals.
But I do want to point out also crystal. this story of the the seven monsters getting trapped. This is a very familiar scene if you watch the dub, because this is the animation they use for the opening of the theme song for no reason whatsoever. Every episode of the American dub starts with this images of the monsters getting trapped and sent back to Earth, which again makes it seem like, oh, this is like a real big part of the mythology of it. And it's like, no, this is just a thing that's going to happen for like 7 episodes somewhere down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, but, it's just the thing.
It just looks cool.
So Queen Beryl has the dark crystal that Nephrite made. She has modified it. It pops out of her crystal ball, which I think is hilarious. And she gives it to Zoisite. Kunzite is just kind of hanging out there. I don't know why he was summoned to this meeting other than that he's the only one left.
Do we know what his job is? I don't even know what his job is.
I think I'm pretty sure he has the same job as Zoisite, because I think they are ostensibly meant to be teaming up. Or maybe I just think that because they are,
teaming up.
They are romantically involved. So from there, and also there's a lot of stuff they have that Nephrite didn't. Like Nephrite had to appeal to the stars themselves to find his next target. They just go, hey, who's got the crystal? Oh, he's got it? Cool, let's go.
Yeah, they have it way easier. You're right. But Nephrite, it's because Nephrite wouldn't talk to anybody. If he, at any time he had checked in, Sarah, she probably would have been like, here, have a bunch of help and information. And he would have been like, oh, I feel stupid now. He wouldn't return their calls, remember?
Yeah, he just wanted to live in that mansion and drive that Ferrari. What happened to Nephrite's car, do you think?
He didn't have a next of kin. Like that stuff all got auctioned off by the state.
You don't think it went to Molly? You don't think Molly's got a Ferrari?
No.
Molly's got a Ferrari in the garage outside the jewelry store Osapi.
Oh yeah, her mom would be totally cool with that.
Look, Naru's mom is very permissive, and if I was Naru and I was like, yo, this is my new Ferrari, and my mom was like, what the hell, Naru? You can't have a Ferrari, you're 14. I'd be like, yeah, well, you turned into a monster and tried to kill me, so...
She was tied up in the basement.
So yeah, I guess I win every argument now, because you were a monster. Okay, so back at school. It's lunchtime, Usagi's favorite time of day. She sings a song
the most
about
adorable
lunch.
Song. Wonderful. Do you remember how it goes?
I just know that I think they do a literal translation for it. So in the dub that I watched, the new dub, she is just singing lunchtime, can you hear my stomach growling? Which is a bad song, but a highly adorable one. And she sees the girl with the rose earring. Now, we have talked, particularly when Mars showed up, about how great it is that Usagi's reaction to meeting her new friends is inevitably to have a crush on them.
True.
So she starts straight up creeping on Makoto, which is great, because then creep number 1, Umino, shows up and has all the information that Usagi needs. We find out her name.
A report on her. Yeah, it's weird.
She just transferred in. Her name is Makoto Kino, and she was kicked out of her previous school for fighting. I love Makoto so much.
Well, and we also learned that she is a really good cook. Another part of her personality, because Usagi sits herself down and like pretty much helps herself to Makoto's lunch, and is like, your mom's a great cook. And she's like, no, I'm a great cook because I made it. And then Usagi tries to get her to cook food for her. And she, at the end, she's like, you can cook it for me. Just kidding. But she's not kidding.
No, she's not kidding at all.
She's not kidding at all.
They're eating rice balls. In the dub, they call them chocolate chip muffins.
They do kind of look like chocolate chip muffins.
A little bit.
A little bit.
That's so American, though, to be like, instead of eating a healthy rice lunch, let's just eat, like, I don't know, just dessert. Like, let's just eat chocolate chip muffins. That's what we'll do.
Right. The idea that she would bake herself a pile of muffins to bring to school for lunch is ridiculous.
They do that in Pokemon when they're having the triangular rice balls, which is hilarious because those don't look at all like donuts, and like, oh, these donuts are great, and they talk about them being donuts so much that it has to be a thing where like everyone involved is like, oh yeah, it's a thing in anime where if it's food, it's a donut.
Oh man.
But yeah, like we see Makoto is her lunch bag is really cute. As Usagi says, Makoto's also really friendly, which I like because her first reaction is the first thing we see her do is just like beating ass. And then the second thing we do is see her eating lunch with a cute little lunch bag and going, oh, hey, sit down, have some food. Do you want to talk? Do you want to be friends? Do you want to be best friends?
Yeah, she's being shunned by everybody because they all believe these rumors about her that she's scary.
Well, I also love that we see, I feel like usually like openness kinds of runs up against the wall of Ami's shyness or Rei's sort of general approach avoidance kind of thing. But like here, like she's totally open and Makoto is totally open back. It's just a totally one-one exchange of openness and friendliness, and it's kind of great to see, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if I said it well earlier, but this is the exact example of what I was talking about, where Makoto's like just all out there physically, but also kind of all out there emotionally too, which is I really like. And we're going to get some of that in the next episode as well, or in the next scene as well, when they go to the Crown Game Center after school, and we find out that Makoto, in addition to loving pro wrestling and cooking and fighting, is also super good at video games.
Oh, Al, is she? She's into video games. I don't know that she's good at them, because we mostly see things of her getting angry at them and yelling at them.
Well, I believe in the manga she knows how to do a special combo that Serena doesn't, or Isagi.
Well, and I think that her enthusiasm for video games is more important than her specific level of expertise.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, I wasn't criticizing. I think it's great. I think it's really fun that she loves playing video games and gets. And
why do you
that's very
think,
realistic.
Makoto's a fake geek girl, Jordan.
No. I'm not calling her fake. I'm saying she's so real and into it because that is what you do. You play video games and you swear at them and you yell at them and you punch them because they are difficult.
She asks who Motoki is, and Isagi gets a really cute scene where she gets all sparkly for a second, and she's like, oh, Motoki, because she's like, oh, is Motoki your older brother? And she's like, oh, no, Motoki is. And she's about to say something, and then she turns around and Makoto's already gotten bored by Isagi trying to explain Motoki.
So this is where she meets the other scouts. Rei and Amy show up with Luna. I believe they say because Luna is concerned. Again, Luna is like going, oh, Usagi's hanging out with that new girl. I have a weird feeling about her. So they show up to be like, what are you doing with that girl? And Usagi's just like, no, she's great. Check her out. Introduces them. They all have a nice time. And that's when we get that great scene of Rei and Usagi yelling at each other over who's the bigger jerk in their friendship.
Yeah, well, because Usagi is like, oh, hey, this is Amy. She's a super genius. She's really great. She's a good friend of mine. And this is Rei. She's the mean one.
Well, that's the thing is both Usagi and Rei play their part in this little rivalry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Rei's just the mean one.
No, Rei's the mean one. Rei's the mean one completely.
They're both confrontational. Everybody plays a part in this little rivalry.
I mean, that's why this scene is great, because you get to see them both just poking at each other until they both are screaming.
Yeah.
Well, and you see finally somebody recognize, openly that it's actually based on a sort of intimacy. It's kind of like the girl on girl version of like when the guy pulls the girl's pigtails and finally someone's like, yeah, it's because you love her. And it's kind of nice to see Makoto say that. I don't know. I like it. I feel like it kind of solidifies something.
And then Serena or Usagi introduced her to Luna, saying, "This is Luna. She stays at my house," which I thought was so weird.
Because why would you not say, "Oh, this is my cat"?
Nope.
Because she doesn't own her. She doesn't own her. She's a person.
Look, I know that, and you know that, and Usagi knows that. But Usagi Usagi can't say, "Oh, by the way, this is an autonomous sentient being who lives at my house." Like, no, the way that you would put that if you want to keep your secret identity is just to go like, "Oh yeah, it's my cat."
Is there a way? I mean, maybe it's more natural in Japanese. Would there be a way in English to talk about having a cat that would not imply that type of ownership?
I don't know.
No,
you've got a cat. Laura. How do you say it? How do you say it when you introduce your cat to people?
I just say, well, and I guess I just say this is my cat.
Right.
Although last night my roommate and I were talking about it, and she has a cat that she really loves too, and I was joking about how she owns the cat. And she said, really, we belong to each other.
Right.
And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, this is the cat I do everything for.
Yeah, but I think it's like a little intense to say that when you like first meet someone. The cat that I live with, we belong to each other. I don't think that would come off very well.
This is my yakety yak cat from outer space. That is what she's doing.
Exactly. So now
we should also say that there's a great bit in this where Isagi and Rei are yelling at each other, where Rei demands to know the exact date down to the second of when she was ever mean to Isagi.
Yes, that is something she says.
Which is literally all the time. Literally every day.
That is a pretty funny screenshot. You just posted on Twitter. I see. It's very great.
And Isagi's response is, "You're being mean right now. This is what being mean is. You are shouting in my face." I love that.
The shot of them sticking their tongues out at each other is pretty great as well.
Yeah, that's a classic Sailor Moon shot. So then we are introduced to the crane game troll.
So,
yes.
Why would
do we ever hear his name, or
Joe.
is it always that pseudonym?
I think it's just Joe.
Joe. What's his Japanese name? His Japanese name is not Joe.
I thought they called him Joe in the Japanese one as well. No?
Do they?
Yeah, he's called
maybe.
Joe the Crane Game Troll in the subtitles.
Oh no, I just meant his actual, like, if they gave him a name.
Yeah, Joe.
Name a Japanese. That's not a name that a Japanese person has.
Joe.
But anyway, we can move on. Let's move on.
To me, the part that's funny is the troll part. Like, why do they call him a troll?
I want you guys. So, I have a larger thesis on this that I'll expand on later.
Okay.
But at first, I was like, did they bring me on for this episode because it's about Gamergate?
What?
No,
we didn't make that analysis. Is that what's happening here?
I mean, I have a whole, when we get to the fight later, I'm going to expand on my thesis, but yes.
Okay.
Or, it's about a young man that everyone refers to as a game troll, who thinks he's the very best at video games, a sense of superiority, which is mostly based on an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
He's super hostile to girls at every opportunity. When Makoto asks him for game tips, he says she'd never be able to do what he does and is super dismissive. And then when he gets threatened, he becomes super defensive, turns into an actual video game monster, and attacks women.
Wow, that's amazing. This is it's a psychic prediction via this video, this episode.
Well, I posted a thing months ago, like a year ago, when I was reading Codename Sailor V, where there's also a gamer dude who gets really mad at Sailor V and insists that she has to be a man because she beats him at a video game, and she ends up transforming and kicking him, and Artemis is like, "Oh shit, he's not a monster, you just killed that guy."
Wait, did she actually kill him?
He
Did
is
she
not
literally kill
actually
him?
dead, but he is like severely injured because she superhero kicks him.
Wait, is this in the manga?
Yeah, it's in Codename Sailor V.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, I posted it a long time ago on,
that is pretty
on Twitter.
funny.
Now, a couple things about this scene, though, before we move on. There is a Sailor V plush doll that he gets out of the crane game. There's also a Sailor Mercury plush doll.
Again.
Which I want. Oh, go ahead.
Who is licensing these?
Right.
I was wondering that. Not like who is making money off of these,
right?
And why does this not upset them? Like someone is profiting hugely after. And this is pretty recent. Like they've got to be really like on the ball.
This is another one of those.
I've already
like between episodes. They do a thing. They have an episode between the episodes where they transform and they go consult a lawyer, and the lawyer says, "Unless you will reveal your identities, we can't do anything about it." And they go, "We can't afford to reveal our identities," and so there's nothing they can do, and they just get exploited. It's terrible.
Well, the funny thing is, like, we saw Tuxedo Mask and Mercury and Mars on the Sailor V movie poster.
That's right.
and my theory then was that people, they see the Sailor Scouts, but since Sailor Moon and Sailor V are virtually interchangeable, like they look exactly alike, except that one of them has the pigtails. They just assume
and the mask.
These are but nobody ever looks at Usagi's face, because if they did, they would know who she was immediately.
Actually, I've never really thought about that, where like she actually does not wear a mask.
Not
they
in
don't
the
even
slightest.
go for the conceit of the mask.
Yeah, like I talked about
She's just the same person.
a couple weeks ago. Naru sees Sailor Moon without her tiara on and doesn't make the connection, which is the tiara is the only thing obscuring even part of her face, and then it is just her forehead.
The idea that a tiara could possibly make you unrecognizable already
It's
is
the
ridiculous.
only thing on her head. Like,
No,
I was
it's
willing
magic.
to give them that.
It's magic. It's magic. they have a magical do not recognize field around them that.
Well, and I'm like, I always want to take things too far, where I'm like, maybe it's symbolic of how we categorize people and like put them into boxes, and then we're unwilling to see them, in other contexts where, maybe she does have Usagi categorized as.
Except that we always see Sailor Mars angrily yelling at this blonde girl and the blonde girl crying.
Well, and this comes up, I can't remember if it's this episode or the next one. It doesn't matter. It's like a million episodes where, Tuxedo Mask has some dream about some princess, and she has like the same incredibly unusual hairstyle that Usagi has and never makes the connection.
Yeah.
Is this, is this a Lex Luthor Superman thing where he goes, Superman would never deign to be non-super, so he couldn't be Clark Kent? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, except that they know that Sailor Moon has a secret identity.
Right,
the bad guys do at least.
Right. Yeah.
We also talked about this in the Princess D episode where Usagi's dad sees Usagi in. Oh yeah. And she's not even transformed. She's just in a dress. We talked about how if Usagi says "make me look like a princess," Usagi is a princess, so it should just make her look like herself. And Usagi's dad, who has seen her every day of her life, is the only one who goes, "Oh, that girl looks like Usagi." But doesn't go any further than that. So anyway, back to the show.
So the Crane Game, we actually joked at one point about there being a Crane Game episode, and now we actually are in the Crane Game episode, except it's not an energy plot.
The other thing that I wanted to say, you know who's really good at Crane Games?
Who?
Danny Trejo.
Oh, in real life? Okay.
In real life, Danny Trejo is apparently super good at Crane Games.
Does he have minor telekinesis?
Maybe. Would you doubt it?
No.
But what he does is a little interesting non-Sailor Moon fact about Danny Trejo. He does a lot of work with like women's shelters and children's shelters, and he goes to Crane Games and just basically clears them out with a roll of quarters and keeps them in his car so that when he goes to women's shelters and children's shelters, like he has things to give to the kids.
That's amazing.
That is a thing that Danny Trejo does.
Well,
he is, from everything I've ever heard, a super, super nice guy.
Wow.
So, anyway, back to the show.
Well, hold on. Before we get back to the show, and this is connected to the show, so this is about the show. That is a good place for me to say, you mentioned about what a terrible person Troll Joe is. This is another one of those things. In the dub, they've taken out all the idea of him not being super nice. All the places where he's a dickhead in the Japanese version, in the original American dub, he's very pleasant. And one of those things is they talk specifically about he takes all these things and he donates them to like orphanages.
Oh,
yeah. Well, again, because they make him nice. In the Japanese version, he's not nice at all, and presumably just takes them home and goes, ha 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 ha, I own them all.
So he clears out the Crane Game, and Makoto is love struck instantly because he reminds her of the boy who broke her heart. Which is a recurring theme with Makoto that I really love.
Yes.
Well, and I love too where it's like, yeah, and who can't relate to this? Where, Usagi's like, oh man, he's like so unfriendly, like he's not very nice. And Makoto's like, that's what I like about him. And I'm like, no. But yeah, she's about it.
So I love her look too, because the same look that they give to people who have like a cold. Like just that like heavy lidded kind of look.
And I love that they do the cartoon thing of like she's completely oblivious. Usagi like waving in her face and she doesn't react at all. It's so adorable.
So Joe leaves and is immediately set upon by Zoisite, who uses the crystal. And by the way, he is wearing the highest waisted jeans in the history of the world.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, these jeans, the crotch of these jeans is so big. It is just a vast expanse of denim.
I recently saw a movie called Lionheart by Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it's very similar. Everybody has the highest waists I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it. So this is actually apparently a big thing in the 90s that I've willingly forgotten, that people actually dressed this way.
Yeah, like super, super high-waisted jeans. So Zoisite shows up and zaps him and is going to turn him into a monster because he apparently has a rainbow crystal inside him. Mm-hmm. And Makoto shows up, and maybe this is why their relationship doesn't get off to a good start, because she says, hey, it's not nice to bully the weak.
Well, I mean, she's just being honest.
Don't worry.
It's relative, right?
You weak, frail, tiny boy. I'll protect you.
But But she's like way bigger than him, and like is also a superhero. She's a superhero. She's a superhero even before she becomes a Sailor Scout.
Well, yeah, because this is
I think
crazy.
it's worth saying.
This scene is mental and awesome because this is, as far as I can remember, the first time we've seen like a regular person be like, I'm gonna fight magic. There is a person floating over there using a crystal to pull another crystal out of another person's chest. I'm gonna start punching some people.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck him up.
That's crazy. I mean, if Usagi had seen that, she would have run. She practically would do that now, even though she's Sailor Moon. But before she was Sailor Moon,
she transformed. She would have at least transformed.
I'm saying before she was Sailor Moon, she would have seen that and gone, I'm out of here. This is none of my business.
Makoto also uses like very recognizable kung fu in this. Like she uses tiger style on Zoisite, which is awesome.
Yeah, which totally reminded me of like that Kill Bill thing when the bride goes and does her cloth thing with Pai Mei with the claw thing.
Yeah, it's the same move. It's awesome. She's like clawing at her face, or his face, excuse me. We have a lot of trouble with Zoisite. She takes off her earring and throws it like a shuriken.
Yeah,
which
that
is
was
the
crazy.
baddest shit in the world.
Well, okay. Is it? I mean, it's a fun looking thing, but it's just a tiny little rose earring. Like what? What's it gonna do? If
it's gonna make Zoisite dodge right into getting a backslap.
Why did Zoisite even dodge? Is what I mean. Like it just would have gone pink. Oh yeah, you threw an earring at me. Nice.
Because Zoisite's showing off.
Okay.
He's like, oh yeah, you can't even hit me. You're pretty good, but you can't hit me. I'm just going to dodge this. Dodges the earring, walks right into the back slap.
It's not bad.
And again, like we talked about this in, I guess it was last week, right? Because it's where Nephrite fights the bad guys is last week's episode.
Yeah, him being real badass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare that we see like actual physical violence, like actual punches or kicks or hits. Makoto shows up, fights two grown-ass men, and then goes and backhands the shit out of a Negaverse general. Makoto rules. Makoto's great. I love her so much.
So she successfully kicks Zoisite's ass so that Zoisite has to leave. Zoisite goes like, you've scarred my face. That's a bit excessive, but you've scarred my face. You'll regret this, and leaves. And they're left there to pick Joe up off the street. And again, in the Japanese version, total douchebag. He's like, okay, thanks, get off me, like jerks, and leaves.
I just put a shot of Makoto hitting Zoisite on Twitter, and someone responded with "Ome wa mu shinderu," which is what they say in Fist of the North Star, which is "you are already dead," which is pretty great.
Pretty funny. So then we get this really weird, is it flirty or is it not scene where, yeah, Joe is walking off, clutching his heart, being like, oh, I'm dying. But like still trying to be proud and be a jerk and be like, I don't need anybody's help. And Makoto,
I don't need anybody's help. I'm a tough guy. Where's my bag full of stuffed animals?
Right. And then Makoto's following him and he's like, oh, why are you following me? And she's like, I'm going to protect you. Remember when that person tried to kill you?
You seem to be, you also, it's like you seem to be seriously injured.
Yeah.
But then, like, he totally blows her off and then goes in the cafe to just, like, have, like, a quiet heart attack over a cup of coffee all on his own. And no one in the cafe thinks anything about this.
Nope, they don't care at all. And Usagi shows up, and they just sit outside the coffee shop staring at him through the window until finally he goes, okay, come in. And then even when she comes in, he goes, he's, like, such a douche. He just goes, yeah, I don't want to spend time with you. I just was like, if you're going to sit there staring at me, you might as well come in. He's just such a casual douche. I don't understand why.
Well, also, so much great stuff with Makoto here because she is immediately like, oh yeah, somebody's trying to kill you. Don't worry, I'll be your bodyguard. Yeah, which is such a super heroic thing to do. It's like, yeah, of course. I'm super strong. Of course, I'm going to protect you.
I'm 5'6". You're enormous.
I'm massive. I can almost reach the top shelf. Everybody.
Oh, that's.
And he goes like, and he's like, what are you talking about? As though someone literally was not just trying to kill him. And Makoto goes, oh, you won too much at the crane game, so the game center hired a hitman.
Right. That's right. I forgot she suggested that idea.
That seems slightly illogical.
I mean, she's joking, right? That was a cute joke, right? Nope.
Sure.
I guess like she's smiling and winking when she says it, but I kind of feel like she thinks that is a legitimate possibility.
I don't know.
Because she is 14.
All right. That's true.
But yeah, like I do like the idea that Makoto, if she does think there are actual professional hitmen, is like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll beat him up. Makoto's so great.
I would love to see just like a prequel about her life before she met Usagi, where she just walked around beating people up at her old school.
Yeah, before she got kicked out. Yeah.
Well, right. It would be the story leading up to her getting kicked out. Yeah. I think that could be a compelling story.
And you get to see the guy who breaks her heart.
You get to see, you get to meet the guy who breaks her heart and see what he's got to be an amalgam of every guy. Well, right. He's got like the glasses of this guy and like Motoki's hair, and it's like she's just a Mr. Potato Head of like every guy we've seen her freak out over. And yeah, like maybe she like does have like run-ins with the Yakuza and like beats them up, like, and we get to see how she became the superhero that is Makoto before she becomes the superhero that is Sailor Jupiter. It's my pitch.
I like it.
If anyone wants me to write that for no reason.
So Usagi, for her part, does show up to help because Luna tells her that, like, Luna's like, I sense an evil presence from that person she was fighting. You know, the person who was teleporting and using magic and floating.
And wears a costume very similar to Jedites and Nephilites.
Wears a Dark Kingdom uniform.
And the one who was there when Nephlite died? Did we not see that? I don't remember.
Zoisite wasn't there. It was just those three monsters. Yeah.
She left before Sailor Moon showed up? All right. He left. I'm sorry. Ugh, the dub screwed me up again.
So Usagi encourages Makoto to go in and actually have sit down and have a date with Joe, the Crane Game troll, and his backwards baseball cap and his hoodie. And
man.
He is Japanese Rob Liefeld, for real. Like, he's got the high-waisted jeans, the backwards cap.
Are they button fly? Oh gosh.
And he thinks he's like so bad, where he like eventually invites her in to like sit with him. And he's like, don't even think that this is a thing. It was just more annoying to like watch you outside.
Yeah.
And like, he's totally negging her is what I'm saying. Yeah. He's also a pickup artist.
And so he's like, oh yeah, check this shit out. And he makes an ashtray levitate, which, to be fair, if I saw that would be incredibly impressive. That is not so impressive when in 5 minutes we are going to watch her shoot lightning out of her head.
Oh, but don't forget her immediate reaction. He goes, I'm going to show you how I did it. I can make things levitate. And she goes, her first reaction is not, oh my God, that's amazing. Her first reaction is, so you cheat. So you cheated. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But like, it doesn't matter. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool.
It's not cheating, it's winning. So Zoisite just shows up in the restaurant, which is pretty great, and goes, "Hey, what's up? I'm gonna kill you now."
And we get that weird moment. Is this a moment of Jupiter accidentally revealing that she likes to eat food, and then going, "Oh no, I shouldn't do that because I'm on a date"? Is that what happens there? Like, because Zoisite comes over and pretends to be a waiter, and she's like, and Jupiter's like, "Yeah, I'll have this. Oh wait, I mean just a coffee."
Does she do that?
Yeah,
I missed that.
She does do that. She does. I think initially she's like, she wants like curry or something like that, and then she's like, no, milk tea.
Right, that's what it was. Yep.
Don't hide your light under a bushel, Makoto.
Yeah,
like, man, it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
look, you just did Muay Thai at a monster. Own it.
Earned a curry.
Get some calories back.
Yeah, and so then they start fighting again.
Well, first of all, like, Usagi is like, what are you doing? Because Joe tries to get away in his fucking Reebok pumps. The more we see of Joe's outfit, the more hilariously 90s it is. Because he's literally wearing Reebok pumps.
Is he?
He is.
Wow.
He's gonna pump it up. He's so Marty McFly.
Yeah. He literally is like, something's attacking me, trying to kill me in there. I'm leaving this girl to whatever happens to her happens. And Sailor Moon's like, what? You have to help her. And he's like, no, I don't.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, she came in here on her own. And by the way, giant girls like that aren't my type.
Yes, that's what he has to throw that in.
Girls who are 5'6".
and she hears that. Like, why would he say that? Oh my God.
I know. I can tell you exactly why he said it. I mean, like, this dude is just like the quintessential version of like the insecure dude who like can't even handle like an awesome, powerful woman. And then so he's like, I didn't even like her anyway. She's just whatever, man. Like, he's definitely threatened.
Sure.
He's very threatened by how strong she is, by how awesome she is. And so he has to like totally neg her to like feel okay as a man, because he's a sad human being.
Because she's literally saving his life right now. Yeah, exactly. Yes. She's literally saving his life, and he has to be like, but that's fine because she sucks and I don't care.
Yeah. Like, it still seems like an inopportune time to mention it. Like, maybe just go, well, she's not, maybe when you say, he's like, hey, you can't just leave a girl behind like that. Or just go, well, she's not my girlfriend. I literally just met her. Not, she's ugly and I hate her. So Zoocyte shows up. We get a reprise of the same shot of him being dark crystalled up. The rainbow crystal pops out of his chest, and Zoocyte transforms him into a monster named Gamesen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, I believe, the Japanese word for arcade, which is it's the shortened version of Game Center. I've been watching a lot of Game Center CX lately, so yeah.
And he makes kind of awesome retro video game sounds as he does stuff.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. What do you guys think of the design on the monster? It's been a while since we've talked about the design. I feel like he could have been way more video gamed up a little bit.
Well, is there like a Pokeball on his thigh? Like
it's a
what?
Joystick. It's a joystick
is that what that
sticking out of
is?
his thigh.
I kind of wish they used it more. Like it's like, oh, that's a really neat idea for a design, and then all that really happens is his hand changes into different stuff.
He uses a whack-a-mole mallet, which I actually think is hilarious.
Yeah, and then he uses a crane game grabber.
Yeah, but they could have gone a lot further with it. I feel like they did not. Like it was like maybe 4:30 in the afternoon on a Friday when they were designing this monster.
Well, he looks like a dude who's in kind of like a burgundy, like catsuit or whatever, and then they just threw a joystick on his leg and like some shoulder pads, and then like kind of brushed their hands together and like called it a day. But it's like it's a video game monster.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I am not a character designer, and I feel like I come up with like 5 better ideas just off the top of my head. I mean, there's so many possibilities. You could use analogs to like any video game character.
Or they could have made him look more like an arcade cabinet. Like
sure. Could have had buttons. Where are the buttons?
Yeah, there's like give him, make him look like Arnim Zola. Give him a screen for a body and some joystick hands. There you go.
So
done.
Yeah, he makes the whack-a-mole thing. He starts whack-a-moling at.
We've just established, why do we even do this? Because this is what I thought to begin with, is that like he's an expert at the crane game. So why is a crane not an element of his attacks?
Well, no, it is. It is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He uses the grabber.
Okay.
Because at first he's got the whack-a-mole.
I guess that's true.
And then he does become the crane game grabbing in a moment. But first
he's gonna get fucking press slammed.
Yeah, exactly. He's turned into a crazy, super powerful, whatever, monster. And again, Makoto is just like, I'm a normal person, but I'm stepping in. I have to fight this crazy monster who has abilities beyond those of mortal men. And she picks him up and slams him into the ground. And she
picks him up like Andre the Giant, brother, in WrestleMania 3 in the Pontiac Silverdome.
2 hands, one hand on his butt, one on his upper back, up over her head. And that's when the Jupiter symbol flashes on her head. And Luna goes, oh, hang on, that's a Sailor Scout there.
She also throws him across this path. They're in the park. They're in, It's so weird that Sailor Moon has a limited number of sets since it's a cartoon. But this is the same park that we had 2 episodes ago where they fought Nephrite for the last time. Like, it's the same set, which is weird. But she throws him across the path. Like, she throws him a good 10 or 20 feet before transforming.
So Luna does her little Luna thing where she shows up with a pen and says, say this word. And she goes, what?
Hey, this came from my butt.
This came out of my butt. Hold it over your head. Say this stuff. And she goes, wow, you learned how to talk. Yeah. Quick, let's get on with it. She does that, transforms into Sailor Jupiter. Okay, let me just also mention Sailor Jupiter, and I don't know if it's because she's 5'6". Her skirt is too short. And at the end of her transformation, you can see her butt under her skirt. They erase it in the American version.
Probably for the best.
So she just has no butt? Or?
Yeah, it's like if you watch the regular version, you could see the bottom of her butt cheeks, and in the American one, they've just erased the bottom of her butt cheeks completely, and it's just skin color, and so you just don't realize that there should be a butt there. It's very weird.
You really can. You really can.
You really can. It's definitely super obvious that you see the bottom of her butt. Her skirt is too short.
That is true.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's because it's a uniform length of skirt and she's taller than the rest.
Well, she does mention in the there is a scene in the manga where a teacher asks her why she's not wearing the Juban middle school uniform, and she goes, "Oh, it doesn't fit."
Yeah.
Like in
and that comes up in this episode too, where like actually I think I don't remember if it's Usagi or Umino or who it is, but they're like, "Oh, oh, how come you weren't wearing the regular uniform? And she's just like, she doesn't even give a good reason. She's like, I just didn't, or I don't. And I'm like, can you just decide that? Can you just decide you're going to wear a different uniform to like a totally different school?
She just, again, I think she's just hiding it. She doesn't want to say I'm too big because she's already embarrassed enough.
That also happens in Kamen Rider Forza as well, where the main character is a transfer student and he wears his old school's uniform because he said he is a teenager who's like, it is more representative of my happy youth. And then it turns out that there is not the school rule only specifies that you need to wear a uniform, not what uniform it is. So I don't know if Juban Middle has the same kind of thing. Now, there's a lot I want to talk about with Jupiter's transformation.
Please.
First of all, love her boots.
Yeah, they're fun.
Her lace-up wrestling boots. Love them. In the manga, the uniforms are all a little more distinct. So in the manga, she actually gets a belt that has the big, the pink flower as kind of the buckle. Huh. She also gets 2 attacks in her debut in the manga. She does an attack called Flower Hurricane before she does Supreme Thunder, which is pretty cool. The other thing is that the story in the manga is completely different. There's no Game Center guy. It is a wedding monster because Naru's cousin is getting married. And obviously, the Nephrite, Maxfield Stanton, Masato Senju and stuff did not happen. So Nephrite is behind this plot. And when Jupiter does Supreme Thunder, it fucking kills Nephrite. It is as though he is an actual person who got struck by actual lightning. He is burned to death immediately. So in case you were wondering if Sailor Jupiter was here to fuck around, no, she's not. She is not here to fuck around.
In this version, she does Supreme Thunder or something like that. Is that what it's called the first time?
Yes, Supreme Thunder, yeah.
And Hisaki thinks she says Cream Puff Center?
Yeah.
Oh, Usagi.
Because she says it in English. She says, Supreme Thunder, which is a little closer than that time that Usagi thought they said moon pudding.
Oh, yes. That didn't make any sense. Let's see. What happens then?
Well, what happens then is they go to kill Gameson, and Luna's like, hey, that's a person.
Yeah, you don't...
Do not murder them with lightning.
Don't do that.
Well, and I like that where what does she say? Where, it's the monster still possesses a human heart, which, goes back to my Gamergate analogy, where it's like,
you want to believe in the end that they're people and that there could be a moon healing escalation that would turn them back into basically human beings. It's empathy. And that's the thing is she conquers the monster through engaging, firstly kicking his ass, but then engaging, with empathy in a certain way. And
there was one more thing I wanted to say about the transformation sequence in Crystal, which I think if you haven't seen this, you'll probably think it's awesome. In Crystal, her transformation sequence, she does, the pose that she does, which I really think is cool, where she's doing kind of the Kung Fu tiger style hands. But then in Crystal, she does a Rosie the Riveter pose and says, I'll make you feel so much regret, it'll leave you numb. Nice. Doing the, we can fix it pose, which is fucking awesome. Crystal has a lot of flaws. The transformation sequences in Crystal are the shit, for real.
I just posted Jupiter's Deke transformation on Twitter if you want to see how they modified it. It's weird. It does look weird because if you actually are paused on the part where they've erased her butt, it's just like there's a solid flesh-colored body with no butt.
So Jordan, you're telling everybody that they need to frame by frame this transformation sequence so they can see Jupiter's butt, right? You're telling
you literally
need to go and do that.
You're seeing the absence of her butt. She has nothing there.
Jordan, when you stare into the butt, the butt stares back.
I believe that. I do.
Laura, I'm sorry we detracted from your point about empathy for other human beings.
That's okay. We got to focus on the important things. The important things about butts.
So no, okay.
I mean...
Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's it. And Sailor Moon can contain multitudes, right? I think I don't know. I was thinking about this too earlier where, it's her skirt's too short or whatever. But I was also thinking about the fact that in a certain, they have, I guess, where do their uniforms come from? Because I've always sort of thought about it as their personas as the sailors are sort of their fantasy versions of themselves.
Interesting.
Obviously it's a little more complicated because I don't know who did the actual character designs here. And if, how similar or they are in terms of the skirt length to Naoko Takeuchi's original designs. But, like, I kind of like the idea that maybe these are the way these teenage girls would like to see themselves, as opposed to the idea of sexualizing them in ways that men would like to see them. Because when you're a young girl, you want to be like cute and glamorous and sexy. So I don't know, just something I was thinking about.
That's interesting.
Just a thought.
So do you think that regarding the idea of this being, I mean, again, obviously Gamergate a million years after the show, but like, do you think like they were trying to comment on that same situation, just how it's been going on for a very long time? Or do you think
it's commenting on like, even before Gamergate happened, there's, always been sort of this culture of, fake geek girling, women who are interested in like comics and video games and being dismissive of and threatened by women who are good at things that are considered traditionally male. And I think that comes through really strongly where we see, where like these ideas of like, these things are for men. And if women are good at them, then we're super threatened and have to kind of tear them down. I think that notion is very real, has been with us for like ever and is still with us. And, I think, points out a real problem with thinking about things in those ways, because it makes men brittle and defensive and have to like tear down women to feel okay about themselves and gatekeep women so that women don't get to do cool stuff because that might threaten them. So don't be like Joe, the video game crane troll. You know what I mean? Like he's obviously, when we look at him, he's obviously like this weak character, even though he has this like, I guess, cool telekinesis power, like he sucks.
Yeah,
like
he does shitty stuff with it, and then he's a terrible person.
Well, and he's so insecure and mean and awful to people, where we look at him immediately and we're like, you're kind of the worst.
Yeah,
and
he is a dude who is less worried about being actually murdered by Zoisite than Makoto showing up and protecting him and insinuating / bluntly stating that he is weak.
Yeah.
Well, but she doesn't do that to like tear him down or whatever.
No.
She's just doing that because she's confident. And like we definitely see various scouts like deal with issues of insecurity at various points. But I think it's very different for them to express that in the way that they do, and to see him come in and be like, well, like I have to tear this girl down and make her feel like bad and unattractive and not capable, even though like she's obviously like the most capable person on this show.
And it's also,
so I think it captures something there.
And it's doubly sad because she gives him the benefit of the doubt so much. Like she is very nice to him, and she's just as impressed by his, ridiculous crane skills as everybody else, and wants to like be nice and, be friends or even possibly date him. And he's just like, no, I'm a dickhead all the time. Like, I don't know. It's doubly shitty because, people are trying to be nice to him and like him. And he's like, no, I'm going to be an asshole to you aggressively all the time.
The patriarchy destroys everyone, you guys. It's true.
That is very true.
Tears us all apart. Well, and like, yeah, and that's the thing is like he misses out on this really cool girl too. Yeah. Like, not that I care the most about that, but from that perspective, like he missed out on like this awesome girl that he could have like at the very least like played video games with and hung out with and like maybe dated, but instead he had to be a dick. So I mean, do we see what happens after he gets transformed back to a human? Does he just like crawl away? Like is there any follow up on that?
I don't remember.
Well, he never shows up again.
Yeah,
because
no, that's not true.
Does he not?
Don't they? All the people with crystals show up again one more time, don't they?
Do they?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Am I forgetting a major episode?
Yeah, I believe you are.
Okay, well, oops. Look, it's been a while.
I mean, if he does, it's a minor thing. And I mean, it's possible he doesn't, and it's just like most of the other ones, but I'm pretty sure all of the people with crystals show up one more time quickly.
Well, he is garbage. He is a garbage man.
What's funny about that is...
much like every other man in this show except Motoki.
No.
He is a trash pile.
You're forgetting about Greg.
I don't think Tuxedo Mask is a trash pile.
No, he's not.
I think that he's not perfect, but I don't think he's a trash pile. I mean, I certainly maybe have my own issues with, dating guys who are jerks, but I don't know. I think he's not that bad.
That's weird, because you know who calls Tuxedo Mask a trash pile? Tuxedo Mask.
No, he calls himself garbage.
Really? He does not.
Does
he really call himself a garbage man?
No.
He says to Usagi, I guess every piece of trash finds its trash pile.
There's garbage for every trash pile.
Do you have a screenshot of this? Because that's amazing.
I do. He says there's garbage for every trash pile. So he's the garbage and she's the trash pile. Come on.
Wow. So he's insulting her at the same time as he's insulting himself.
He's not trying to insult himself. He's actually insulting Motoki at the time because she has a crush on Motoki.
Level? Yeah. Oh, okay.
But he doesn't know he's talking about Motoki, who is his best friend.
All he knows is she has a crush on someone, and he goes, "Oh, you have a crush on someone? Well, I suppose there's garbage for every trash pile." Not realizing that he's the final garbage that will rest upon that trash pile.
That is why we refer to our fans on this show as trash piles. It's very affectionate of us.
So, plus there's other good guys in this show. I mean, Chad's not so bad when we get to him, whatever his Japanese name is. And, the boy who's about to have a crush on Amy, even though you don't believe she likes boys. And there's a bunch of them.
All right, if you say so.
We'll get there.
It's just Motoki. Motoki is the only decent guy on this entire show. So,
okay, the point is, Luna's like, you can't kill this guy, even though he's an asshole. Don't murder him, even though you'd like to. So she gives Sailor Moon, she poops out what she calls the wonderfully named Moon Stick.
Bad name. Just gonna. Isn't it in the dub? Isn't this the Scepter, or is the later one the Scepter?
I'm pretty sure this is the Moon Scepter. And if it's not, then it's. I don't remember what that. I watched it. I don't remember what they said. I'm pretty sure it's the Scepter. But yes,
because the name of it is Moonstick, and that is in English. So they're just saying, Moonstick.
Moonstick. The point is, I didn't remember that this is how soon she gets the ability to heal people. Poor Nephlite. Poor
I know,
Nephlite.
Right?
One episode
Too late for him.
ago, he dies, and now she gets healing. No wonder Molly gets so freaked out.
I do think that's kind of great, though. Like, there's like this redemptive quality to it, and I think that that's almost kind of important. That Luna's like, no, like this is a person, and instead of destroying them, we're gonna try to heal them, because of course Sailor Moon is like better than other people. Like of course she's gonna try to, like, bring them back into the fold of like being a basically decent human, as opposed to just writing them off and destroying them.
Absolutely,
which I think is great.
Absolutely, and it's really sad that she didn't get.
I mean, no one could blame her. Like, I think that it's at that point where it's like no one could blame any of them for wanting to like destroy this person. But in the same way that even before Makoto is Sailor Jupiter, she's still a hero. Before this guy becomes a monster, he's still kind of a monster. And so no one could really blame them for wanting to destroy this guy, but they're still like, no, we're going to be better than that.
Well, the person I think you can blame is Luna, because you could say, why didn't you give us this any time earlier? You were just holding back this Moonstick until you felt like it.
So Luna actually murdered Nephrite.
Basically. Luna cast her judgment upon him and said he would pay.
On the one hand, I really love the heroism of Sailor Moon, healing and kind of redeeming the monsters in this section of the show. Like, if anybody is familiar with things I've written, then that comes as no surprise, I'm sure. Like, I am super into the idea of redemption stories and the heroism of being the person who puts the hand out, the person who forgives. That's the real heroism in a lot of ways. So yeah, on the one hand, I like that. On the other hand, like, we got that great piece of fan art of the thing I suggested that's just, Usagi on day one shaking Luna to find out what falls out of her butt.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, just like
give it all.
Put it all on the table on day one. Like, I know you got a scepter in there, another scepter in there, and
a bunch
4
of
more pens.
At least. That's great.
Well, there's the whole, like, I mean, I think ostensibly there's the whole, like, she's trying to give her what she's ready for. Like, not until you can, like, snatch the pebble from my hand can you, get the moons, snatch the scepter from my butt. That's when we'll know that you're ready to leave the Shaolin Temple.
But the thing is, Luna also goes, oh, hey, by the way, you're the leader because you're the one using the moonstick. And it's like, well, couldn't you have determined that earlier?
Well, no, and it also goes with that whole dumb thing of the whole playing dumb they're doing about everything. Who's the leader of the Sailor Scouts? Well, it's the Moon Princess. Well, it could be any one of them. It could be Jupiter is the moon. Really? It could be Jupiter is the Moon Princess? She could have chosen to give the moon stick to Mars. It's the moon stick. You give it to Sailor Moon. Would it have come out as a Mars stick if she had given it to Mars? Have a big round red part?
The way to fix this, and I hate to armchair quarterback Sailor Moon because I do love it. I do love it, and we're obviously big fans of
Are
it.
we? Oh yeah.
And we're obviously fans of, even I've said that the manga is kind of my least favorite part of Sailor Moon, but like I still like it a lot. But like the way to solve this would be that they're looking for Sailor V and they just can't find her because Sailor V is the first Sailor Scout. She's operating before Sailor Moon. It makes sense if they think that Sailor V is the princess.
Just don't ever say Moon Princess.
Yeah. Just
say Princess.
Silver Millennium Princess or whatever. Crystal Tokyo
the legendary Silver
Princess. Legendary Silver Princess. Like everybody going around going, hey, Bunny Moon, aka Sailor Moon, do you know who the Moon Princess is? She looks just like you.
And they could say use this moon stick.
They could even go like, hey, we know the princess has long blonde hair. Oh, like Sailor V. Got it. Oh. But they don't do that. They just say, oh, hey, I guess you're the leader. This, I think, is the episode where everyone stops just assuming that Ray is the leader. Because I've said it before. If you asked Amy who the leader of the Sailor Scouts was, she would tell you it was Ray. Probably. If you asked Luna, she would tell you it was Ray.
Luna might say it was herself.
Well, yeah. Who's field commander? Leader. Who's field leader?
So now it's interesting. So obviously, again, they heal Joe. They move on to that. It's like I said, in the American version, they've cut out everything that's mean about Joe. So it actually is doubly funny that she doesn't continue to pursue Joe, because in the Japanese version, it makes sense. He's just rejected her outright and broken her heart again. In the American version, he doesn't do any of that stuff, and yet we never see him again. And I never thought about the fact that, oh, yeah, that's weird.
Well, I do like that aspect because, Jupiter's going to fall in love a million times. But, when a dude is shitty, she is done with that dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So speaking of her falling in love a million times, the button on the end of the episode, they return to the Crown Game Center to play some more video games. She swears at the game some more and hits it some more. And then in comes our good friend Motoki, Chris's crush of all time.
Best guy on the show.
He's doing this weird thing where he has his hands tucked into his apron. I don't...
Yeah, where he's pretending to be a million-year-old man. Yeah, I noticed that. I
don't know why he's doing that. It's weird. But, of course, upon seeing and hearing him, Makoto is immediately in love with him as well. Because he also reminds her of her ex. Wah, 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 wah.
And obviously, we have talked a lot about this episode. We've gone very long, but I'm sure we learned a lot. We've talked about a lot of the things that we have learned. Jordan,
yes,
do you have the original Sailor Moon says from the 1992 dub of this episode?
Sure, let me grab it.
My friend Lita sure likes to fight. I'm sure glad she's on our side. But there are other ways to resolve differences, like talking it out. Maybe shouting it out. What's important is to listen and hear how the other person feels. You may find your differences aren't as bad as you think. Try listening first. That's what Sailor Moon says.
Sailor Moon says? How about Sailor Moon does?
I love Luna always sneaking in there with the jabs at the end of these.
Well, she's right. Most of the lessons are things Sailor Moon never would do in the show.
That is, I guess that's a good lesson, except that everything in the show is solved by fighting at all times.
Yeah.
So, my friend Lita sure likes to fight. Good. Good. That's awesome. Did you see her backslap Zoicide? It was great.
Yeah, should she have talked it out with the thugs at the beginning of the episode?
Well, she does try. She does say, hey, back off.
That's true.
So what did we learn? Laura, we'll start with you. What did you learn from this episode of Sailor Moon?
It's not about ethics in video games.
I suspect you knew that before you watched this episode of Sailor Moon.
Well, okay, real talk though, do we really at this point in our lives, when I assume we're all in our 30s, do we really learn things from Sailor Moon at this point, or does it just reaffirm the things we already know?
I am offended that you think you can't learn anything from Sailor Moon.
Well, okay, and I think and I don't mean this as a pun, but I'm realizing it's going to be one when I say it. I feel like Sailor Moon crystallizes certain, certain concepts and certain lessons that, on some level we understand, but need to hear reiterated. So yeah, I think that's worth saying again. Also, don't be Joe the crane game troll. Yeah. Be cool. Don't be insecure and mean to girls.
Jordan, what did you learn from this episode?
I learned that you don't need superpowers to go out and kick ass. You just need a couple inches on people.
And you need to know Kung Fu.
Oh, sure. That would help.
And be super into pro wrestling.
Yep, that would do it.
I learned that butt erasure is a crime that is that is a very serious issue in the Jordan D. White household. Just say no to butt erasure.
I'm just pointing out the differences between the shows.
Also, Butt Erasure is the name of my band.
It's your Erasure cover band?
Yes, but you don't want to know how I play it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, final thoughts on the episode. I really enjoy this one. It's kind of goofy in a lot of places. All the setup stuff for the Rainbow Crystal, I think, it's awkward in the way that most setup for weird driving plot points in Sailor Moon tends to be. But it's a great character introduction. I would say it is. I don't really remember Minako's introduction, but I think Makoto's is easily the best character introduction we've gotten on the show.
Better than the ridiculous computer episode?
I mean, I like that episode, but like Amy's not a super dynamic character in that one.
That's true.
And Amy is kind of by her nature a very passive character. You know, she's like, Graham's cool. Sorry, everybody. Bye. Whereas Jupiter is, from the first moment is dynamic and likable and, beautiful and strong and cool and friendly and just like everything that, it doesn't feel forced. Like there's a lot of ways that like, hey, here's a new cool character can go wrong, but it really goes well in this. And it doesn't hurt that, it's one of two examples of actual violence that we've had on the show so far.
So you just like her because she punches people.
Well, yeah. You know what comics I like. Laura, thoughts on the episode?
I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know. I think that Sailor Jupiter's a really important because theoretically, as you're watching the show as it goes along, maybe you don't know that there's going to be more than 3 characters. Like maybe when you have Sailor Mercury, Sailor Mars, and Sailor Moon, you're like, oh, it's done. This is our team. And I really like Jupiter's addition to the team, and I like that we see in this episode sort of very specifically how much she adds to that dynamic, and how important that is to the experience of Sailor Moon moving forward. And she's great, and I like her earrings.
Her earrings are great.
Yeah.
Like we are, 24 episodes is a real long time in TV. I mean, it's, 24 weeks is a real long time to watch something.
That's 24 episodes is longer than most American seasons of television last.
Yeah, like even the longest seasons.
Yeah.
I think you kind of get used to the dynamic of Amy, Ray, and Usagi because they are a trio for so long. And then, Makoto doesn't change the dynamic too much. Like Ray really changes the dynamic in a way that I like a lot, even though I have my difficulties with the character. Makoto doesn't change the dynamic, but she is, I think, she shows up as a fully formed character and fits in really well. Jordan, final thoughts?
Yeah, this was a terrific episode. I know it's almost impossible to watch the original American version, but I would say this is one where the Japanese version is so much better anyway, so don't bother. It's so much fun. And you mentioned it not changing the dynamic that much. I mean, for these 2 episodes that we're doing this week and next week, they actually I feel like they really do, because they end up becoming Usagi and Makoto buddy episodes rather than the whole team. The team has like cameos, but they're the main focus of it. And I think they do have a much different dynamic, as we discussed earlier, than she has with the other scouts. So it is pretty neat, I think.
That's true. Her dynamic with Usagi is really different. But I mean, like, what I mean is the team dynamic as a whole.
Sure.
Because we